Old business, none, new business review, the August 16th agenda. Max.
All right. So yes, didn't get much longer than at the work session, but we do have a couple items to go over. We will have a conditional use public hearing on just an expanded in-laws quarters or so detached dwelling unit, but gonna put a deck on it. Something like that, and recommended for approval, subject to Tim's staff report conditions by the planning commission. So that is what we typically do. On item 5, I thought we were doing the motion next month.
I just realized I did not take the motion off. It was originally on there. I thought I didn't
Okay.
take it off.
So yes, our plan is to open the public hearing and keep the motion on it just as a point and clarify that this is the public hearing. We will have a presentation from HRG. I have a couple of preliminary exhibits in terms of the legal ad, the transmittals to the other municipalities, a copy of the PowerPoint that you'll have, as well as whatever is required. The planning commission did meet last night, did review it. There is a question though that there was an issue with posting the agenda within 24 hours. So I believe they're going to take a belt and suspenders approach and submit the recommendation a second time in September. Will still be before the council meeting and before the vote, but it was recommended for approval last night by planning commission, or did they just?
No, it's
Yes.
yeah.
So we're just gonna,
Pardon?
Yeah, honestly.
Yes,
or was there, how many do you have, 5 or?
we had a
It
quorum.
was close to a quorum.
It was a quorum.
Yeah,
What is close to?
a bare quorum.
Okay.
So we have that. I think, HRG will give the update. They've given the presentation to Ohio Township already. Once they are done, we'll just open the floor for any comments or questions from members of council, and then throw the floor open for public comments by the public.
Township on the way on Utah.
And as a does. So they're ahead of the ball. So we do have the opportunity, are required to open it for public comment. We receive public comment. Unlike the Sunshine Act, there is no time requirement, but we will try to encourage people to be concise and provide theirs for the record. We will have a court reporter there from the conditional use hearing to be keeping a written record of public comments. We'll have time, as we say, that we plan to have the actual vote at the September meeting, so you will have time to digest any of the public comments you receive, as well as the presentation. I believe that they'll go into the details of how we got here, and knowing that the land use committee, the joint land use committee, and comp plan committees have been doing a ton of work with respect to this project. And here we are coming toward the end of it, but we will look for final action at the September meeting. At that point, it will become our comp plan. It is an every 10-year process. Moves into the next phase of considering reviews of our zoning ordinance, as well as our subdivision and land development ordinance. I think last time we did this, our comp plan was passed in 2007. Our comprehensive reviews of zoning ordinance and saldo were done in 2013. So it is not something that happens immediately. It is something that informs the debate and discussion, although the land use committee that Brian chairs is already jumping on a couple of the recommendations in terms of tree preservation and some other items that have been flagged and you might hear about.
Since it's on the agenda this way, we don't even make it a motion.
You can, yeah, we can announce it. You can do just a motion to table it or postpone the vote until September. Then it will have the calendar out there. When exactly that is, that's probably the best way to do it. Both explaining that we're not planning to vote tonight at the outset, and then just for purposes of the record or minutes, tabling the action until
9/20.
And Max, if that's the case, then the public comment would open for the approval at the next, because it does have to like connect with the voting.
No, the public hearing, can be in a separate time, I mean, similar to ordinance public hearings, we'll often group them together. But when we do anticipate that we are gonna receive public comments, if you move it, we would, close the public hearing tonight, but this is sort of the one, giving everybody the opportunity to speak. Give one chance, the window for providing written comments closed, I think, back on the 6th or so. And those written comments have been appended to the comp plan part of the process.
Understood.
Everything else in terms of the agenda, we are going to be destroying some records. Resolution. We will be getting involved in the CDBG grant program through Allegheny County, just opting into it, being available to apply for that and the home program. We do have a number of letters that we received from John with regard to Taylor Ridge, which may hold the record for the oldest and longest. No? Flyer Ridge is pretty, I mean, so we'll say both of them, because they're both coming down. And I think, I think that's a credit to staff as well, and also the borough for starting to, hold the feet to the fire for developers and increase the amount of their bonds from year to year. It's changed a bit under the MPC, but those two are sort of proof in the pudding of getting attention, getting responses, and especially Kathy, who's been sending, letters 4 months in advance as we're coming up, following up with them, asking them what are they going to do, are they going to increase their amount, or are they going to be done? And these two are pretty much done. You did get, you have at your place, we didn't change the agenda item. There's a follow-up report on Taylor Ridge because they did put up their cash bond for the remaining one item. And they did provide their as-bills as well. Those were two minor items that were, not minor, but items that were open. So we don't have a change. We don't reference that letter in the motion. I think we can be assured that those are moving forward. With respect to everything else, we got an agility agreement, it looks like, that has been added regarding winter services with PennDOT. We do pretty often, or every 5 years or so. We do have a rock salt purchase for those things.
Questions for Max?
Only question I had on Taylor Ridge, Tom had mentioned, Tim, that there's an issue with sidewalks that connected Taylor Ridge and Deerfield.
This is the Deerfield interest. I talked to him about it after that.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, I mean, this is something Deerfield's gonna have to fix. I mean, they were in a hurry to get the sidewalks done. Probably Miranda wanted to do them so they could be done with it, but, just didn't work for them. So we're gonna have to figure out what we want and what they'll do for it. Because
So we're going.
it's their obligation to do that. I mean, their approval was conditioned upon that.
For those that don't know what we're talking about, Taylor Ridge did install the sidewalk as requested across the creek and over. But get up to Deerfield, it's like you have right to find the help.
Like in an elevator.
Good enough.
There's sidewalks.
Remind me the path that the stormwater management ordinance will take as far as like the review publication.
That will be in council's agenda or our packet at the September work session for a quick update from the land use committee. And if desired, would go on to the September agenda for introduction, potential vote at the October. Preview of coming attractions.
Yeah. Any other comments, questions? Okay. Next item, I-79 traffic noise issue. I think we've all received a copy of the email and the attachments from Representative Venkat. So this is a discussion item as to where we want to go from here.
The letter from Representative Venkat to the residents who complained states that they're ready to help us apply for grants to cover the cost of noise barriers. But it seems to me we should do a study before we erect barriers, because if we apply for a grant to erect barriers now, we would have to specifically say we want this barrier at this location of this material. And we're not ready to do that, I don't think, until we know where the problems.
If we go back to the representative, say, hey, we need a grant to do a sound study before we.
Well, that's just something we can do, he would sign off on
Yeah.
it. Now, in PennDOT's letter, they did say it. They expect a study would cost anywhere between $500,000 and $1 million.
$1 million just for the study.
So we could apply for $1 million grant for a study, and if we don't get the full million and the study costs $1 million, we would have to come up with the rest.
My issue is that these two letters don't seem to be in sync with each other. I mean, PennDOT says that they only undertake these projects when you're directed to do so by the General Assembly. So why he's saying to come back to us?
PennDOT's basically saying they're not,
Right.
and they won't do the noise study
Right.
unless they're forced to by the legislature.
Right.
Which both
Right.
parties agree isn't gonna
That's the
happen.
problem.
So what they're saying is we should go ahead and get this process rolling. I think we'll be out of pocket some money on this. I mean, I've never seen grants that pay 100% of the cost.
You're talking about 10% of our yearly budget. $5 million sounds like.
Yeah.
But we can proceed with, we can reach out to an engineer that specializes in sound studies and bounce this off them, and they can give us a ballpark on what they think it would cost to do a sound study. And then if we want to proceed, we can put together an RFP, get responses. But to apply for a grant, we would need numbers prepared by an engineer as far as an estimate of what it would cost. to do a sound
Yes,
study.
the other part
We
of
can't
that.
just simply do an application saying we need money for a sound study.
And we'd have to make sure that whatever sound setting we're asking for,
And if you do the sound study, the estimate right now is that the walls themselves would be between $5 and $10 million, which is incredible. And
I don't understand how we can force PennDOT to accept any of this. It's not-
We can't, they would have to permit us to do it.
Which is why putting the onus back on us is very hard pill for you to swallow, because PennDOT doesn't need to listen to us, but they do need to listen to.
and they may actually turn us down. I mean,
They could.
yeah. I mean,
Quite
because we
easy.
need- Yeah.
And then there's the maintenance question on top of that. Would we be responsible for maintenance of any sound barriers on PennDOT property?
You know, the major part of this, like when I took a little look at it on, just thinking of, we know we're 79 and 279 is through the borough. And I think once you get on to 270, Franklin Elementary's up on the hill, and Sturbridge is way up on the hill above. You really, at least my driving around the borough there, I don't seem to notice as much of a problem when you leave 279. Seems like it's from this 910 bridge to Rochester Road, both sides, because on the one side you would have Northmont Farms and you have Squire Ridge, and then the other side you've got Deerfield going in, you know, Ridge, you've got all this stuff going down that side of Nicholson Road. But altogether, you're looking at nearly 2 miles if you just look at that section. You know, at this point, just ignore 279. I'm not saying 279, those homes aren't hearing it as much, but I don't think with the level line of sight, you're not going to get quite as much down there as you're going to get on the 79 portion going down.
But we would still be somebody here to tell us exactly where we need to do this.
Right. I mean, that's my guess. And I read the PennDOT rules. They have a type 3 and a type 1 project, and they don't do type 2. So basically, the bottom line is exactly what they said. we won't do it unless you're changing something significant. And the project that's proposed for the interchanges doesn't qualify. 'Cause if you're on-
Right, yeah, it was hard to understand those criteria, but that's the conclusion I reached too.
I know.
But you can, they reference the publication, which you can download, it's about 200 pages, and I did download it and I read, I skimmed through it, and I don't think we have much of a fear of them taking anything out, at least at this point.
I mean, they're forcing us to do pipe replacements under their roads in the borough. They're not gonna pay for all.
Right, but there's already, the PennDOT mandates that we have to cover that this really is problematic.
But I mean, if we wanted to, we could apply for a grant for a sound study. See if we get it, and if we get it, it's not 100% of what we asked for. We can look for other sources of funding. If we can't find them, we can turn down a grant. We go, that does jeopardize us for future grants in whatever program we apply on.
If you turn one down, it jeopardizes.
They go
It's a
through
bit of
work,
a thumb
I
on
mean,
the
they go
scale.
through work, reviewing these things and comparing them to others, and they come out and they turn down other projects so they can fund yours, and then you come back and say, I don't want that. I mean, I'm sure they could find another place to use it. They'll question your sincerity in the future.
You, Dave, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I was wondering if we had talked to Harmony, because they have a record one of these, and get a sense of what are they experiencing. Maintenance.
Who was that?
Harmony,
Harmony?
that's where I believe they have a set side of these sound barriers in place. In Western PA, that's all I've seen. I've seen them in other areas of the country.
They've erected themselves on
They
a
do.
paved road.
Okay, so they took it on themselves, and
I cannot imagine if they would have. a budget.
yeah, I mean,
So that, I think,
a conversation probably just to get an idea of like. maybe what
how they
the
get
other-
from point A to point
Yeah.
B. to get
It
that.
must have been during a road.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of walls, for example, in my drive out to IUP, but those are all where they've expanded the highway, they widened it or something.
Yeah.
In that case, they're doing more.
Yeah, well, they need that,
Probably not
instead of,
down.
that way the landslide, I mean, like, I've seen on the turnpike where Oakland is. But the one at Harmony.
Well, Harmony didn't used to be a full interchange. Going north, you couldn't get off, and going south, you couldn't get off. I think you'd only get off going south and going.
And they made a clover
It was a
leaf.
half
So they
intersection.
made a clover leaf, and when they
When
did
they
the clover leaf,
developed it, that's when they expanded that intersection. That was probably.
I mean, it's fine,
Years
it
ago.
don't hurt to have a conversation.
No.
I'm happy to sit in on that, or even talk to them if you have a contact.
Is Harmony even a
I-
municipality or is it
I-
like Rexford? It's just-
There's a restaurant up there, that's all I've seen.
Really no
No idea
more,
what's up
Yeah, I
there.
don't.
It's right there.
It's
Jackson
it's
Township.
either Jackson Township or it's in, my kids both live in Lancaster Township, which is just north like this. So we're, Log Cabin is.
The Harmony is.
Harmony is a township,
I don't think Harmony is a township.
you just look at it.
according to the internet.
Really?
There's this, yeah, there's a main street with like restaurants.
Oh, yeah, I've been
Yeah,
there
that's-
many times. I didn't think.
Sorry, it's a borough.
Yeah, but
It's a borough, yeah, it's a borough,
1840, yeah.
it's a borough, yeah.
So like, the first question would be, did they pay for it?
Yeah.
yeah,
And if they say PennDOT paid for it, then.
but yeah, whenever you have a conversation,
They
I
knew.
mean, I'm happy to join it. I might have some questions that if they don't apply or something, but
Okay.
I think it'd be a good idea to get a holistic idea of like what they truly went through. That'll gauge whether they, is this something we can really push or what the other alternatives such as.
Well, I can get on and ask you tomorrow. I've been up, I'm up there every day.
Their population is 800. There's no way.
No way to-
5% of our-
890.
So there is a cluster of firms on on the west side.
Yeah.
And
There's a
your
variety-
annual
variety
revenue.
of people.
John Lee, any thoughts on this?
And I'm also curious whether PennDOT has funded any project some barrier before. So could we?
They,
get
they
some-
do when they widen roads.
Only when they make changes to the
That's
road.
what they said in their letter, when they will only do it when they've made a change to their road.
They have a very specific set of criteria by which they make that.
If they're widening the
determination.
road, adding the lane and taking more right of way, then they would consider it.
And we don't qualify.
We don't
In
qualify.
this case, we want to take, the tree buffers were taken out as the point, so that's the sound and noise that people have found. We did it.
Right.
PennDOT didn't
Although
come
our
along.
acoustic engineer did say trees.
Yeah, but that's an interesting comment that
Yeah.
is yet to
I
be
wonder
explored.
Yeah, what the facts are with that.
Yeah, we don't. need-
You're a solicitor, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
So
so I
we'll talk to Harmony,
Yeah, yeah, just let me know when.
yeah,
okay,
good time.
and we can decide if we want to proceed, but if we're gonna proceed with getting a grant, it would need to be, I think, for a sound study first, and not to build a wall.
Oh, yeah.
no.
We have no idea where.
I just think you cannot randomly build a wall.
Okay, request by Westview Water Authority to close Ingomar Heights Road. When and for how long?
They actually washed their hands of this and said, this is our contractor's problem, they will be reaching out to you. And their contractor reached out to me, and, in 2 to 3 weeks, they will be down at the end of, Ingomar Heights Road, that is at the four-way intersection of the campus. At that point, it gets tricky for them. And there's a lot of crossing of roads,
Right.
putting the pipe in, and they said it would be a nightmare to try using flagger there. So what they want to do is shut down that end of Ingomar Heights Road for about a 2-week period. It'll be in 2 to 3 weeks from now. So when everybody use Rochester Road for local traffic on Ingomar Heights.
That, with that end of the road, what do you mean by that end? From.
Close Ingomar Heights Road off at that four-way intersection.
Right,
So you can't access Ingomar Heights Road at that point.
so it's
You have
closed
to
in
use
the whole,
Rochester for anybody who wants to go on Ingomar Heights Road. And they
so
said they
there's
will.
no through traffic, there's only
Correct, just
residential
local
traffic
traffic and-
from Rochester. on.
Correct, and they will be past the school, they said, by then, so that buses will be able to use it to get to the school. But they would have to use Rochester Road to get.
It's already a disaster. It's already.
They said otherwise this will take them probably months to get the job done, because to try to.
They already made a
Flag
mess,
traffic.
right?
I know.
And the road looks horrible. that they've done too. It's exactly what we were getting at before. Open it up, close it up and make it look nice.
I think our police probably need to chime in on that too and decide, because again, if it's gonna be a nightmare where they're just simply backing up traffic on all roads.
Yeah,
For 15, 20 minutes at a time, that may not be.
buses
I
can't
don't
move
think
through
that's
and now be
an
a
option.
disaster.
Any way you look at it, this isn't.
Can't they do it at night?
Yeah, like nice.
They need our permission to do it.
Yeah, and
They have
the
to have
residents in
rolling-
Ingomar Heights would have to agree that, yeah, they can bang away on the pipe all
Yeah.
night long, and we have no problem.
Yeah.
We're not gonna get that.
What is speed of the project? Would the duration be less if they did that?
Yes.
They work day and night,
No, just at night.
just at night, it would speed it up some probably, because there wouldn't be as much traffic on the road,
Right.
but it would impact a number of our residents for an extended period of time.
Were they doing it? Mining, or they-
It would be
It's
mechanical.
it's the total replacement of the
Water lines,
water.
the main line,
The
yeah.
water line is on one side of the road, or is it?
Yeah.
Is it in the road?
And
Then when
that's,
it gets down to the intersection,
It's.
it kind of
it's-
crosses and
It's
goes
underneath.
back.
The other problem is they're lying out there for a portion of the day.
Underneath.
I don't know how far.
That's like
right in the middle.
yeah, that's a good question when they open it up at night.
Well, just make it a one-way.
They didn't, we didn't get that far. This is a preliminary request because they're still 2 or 3 weeks out. They approached us first. They haven't yet talked to the school. They haven't talked to mechanics. They just wanted to see what our thoughts
If they
are.
back up the school buses, it will be an absolute train wreck.
I
There's
know.
gonna be no way to
I heard
untangle
the
it.
school was not happy with us because it's there.
Yeah.
But if they don't close the road, then they will be back in that school 20 times.
There's Ingomar buses come, Ingomar Elementary comes from our side, down Ingomar Heights.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. My.
Mine too. They
So
run
it's
around that
still-
circle.
Yeah, they're only thinking of the middle school, they're not thinking of our Franklin Park kids that go into Ingomar Elementary.
Yeah.
Well, they originally called me and I said, they wanted me to make a decision. I don't agree, but
I think it's more,
wow, no, I didn't make a mess.
I think it's more from a traffic safety standpoint, one of our considerations.
Right, sure is.
Maybe we need to have a conversation we need to get this guy back in here to talk to our
Us
police
and
department and
McCandless
explain
and-
exactly
and-
what they intend to do.
Yeah, because closing that intersection in McCandless is gonna involve their police department as well,
Yes,
because
yeah,
traffic
sure.
affected there.
We don't have control over that anyhow, that end of it.
You know what?
Oh,
The
yeah.
other thing is,
Correct.
what's the point is they would be able to do it quicker if
Yeah.
They were, but who cares?
Well, they would be able, there would be less disruption of traffic coming from all directions. If they-
Well, I don't think, this is, yeah,
We won't know the answer to that until they talk to our police department and explain exactly what they're doing.
that's fair.
So I wouldn't dismiss it
Okay.
out of hand. But Westview Water is basically saying, this is the contractor's problem, do what you gotta do.
Mhm.
It's kind of what they do to us.
Yeah.
Is it Singapore Road or West Singapore?
Ingemar Heights.
Singapore Heights. Would it make sense to maybe instead of having flaggers, just trying to speed this up, make it 24/7 one way for the duration? I mean, if it'll speed up the project. I mean, still.
What are doing now?
Isn't the pipe on one side of the road underneath?
Yeah, it's on this one
There's
side,
no way.
as you're driving.
At least on our end.
It's on
But it
the-
also has to be, they also have to tie into it. And I don't think it's on one side the entire way. I think
It's gotta
it crosses
cross
roads,
over.
and that's their issue, is that it crosses roads. It's not just one side, or they can just keep one lane.
The big traffic problem is they're shutting down both directions while they manipulate equipment to bring in fill and gravel, you know, they're digging it out, so they have to have both lanes taken up because they're digging up one lane and use it. So it is a mess. And I think the problem is not so much the closure, but the detours and the traffic that will then go from the yellow belt, which is Ingemar Heights, onto all our roads and the congestion and problems that it'll cause us. That's how it'll impact us, because like Reed was saying, that's in McCandless, that's their intersection and their problem, but the detours that they're proposing will come
I
through Franklin.
think a lot of people already are using that detour, because they don't wanna wait in line. I talked to a number of people.
I've skipped,
okay,
I know, I've skipped around.
It's
already.
not that major of a trip around.
No, it's not, but you have to be aware of what you're doing and where you're dropping out. If somebody finds themselves, you know, I don't know, it could be.
Are you talking about James Strong or Strong?
No, I'm
There's a
talking about
couple-
going up to Ingemar Heights and down.
Oh,
Ingemar Road, past the Borough Building and down
Yeah.
around. And a number of people have already indicated they're not gonna wait in that line.
Yeah, I skipped.
And another question, Gary, when do we repave it at, when they're done? Is it done? We can't do it this year, right?
Well, we were thinking about it possibly, but with the amount of construction, amount that they took out, that's the reason why we figured we want to let it settle through the winter and then go back into it.
Right,
For
right,
that,
yeah.
put that
So
road on
general-
list for where we're gonna pave it next year. Yeah, to give a chance to settle through the winter.
It's not real comfortable right now driving.
Well, that's, I mean, I was talking, I mean, we were out actually at a, guy that we had a study, we took a road tour with, me and the mayor. And it was riding up there, and it was pretty rough there, and they're gonna have to come back in and mill that all off, get that all smoothed back out, you know, they gotta definitely do some stuff to get some more time on there, because that road is bad, it's rough right now. Just to get it up to where it'll make it through the winter.
You say they're gonna have to, is that for sure? They're gonna do that?
Well, I'm not sure, I don't know, and every time they've ever done anything for us, they go in there and do a job like that, and then they up and let it go. I mean, they did that over
Yeah.
in Charles over here.
King, they did it.
I mean, it took a year for them.
For another
It
year.
was a year, over a year.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, I think we, you know, probably gotta try to get them, force them to at least come back in and mill that off to where it's got a smooth surface. You know, because it's rough, it's bad.
It is bad.
And then speaking of previews of coming attractions in your work session packet, you'll have an update to the street opening and excavation ordinance that Gary, Sean, and I have been working on. That, you know, addresses and talks about, well, repaving, also closing down only one lane and things of that nature. So keep this discussion in mind as you review that. Does get pretty bad.
Yeah, and really, the amount of excavation that they've done, they should have to replace the entire lane.
Yeah.
Instead,
And that's one thing.
they did the thing that we talked about. They kind of,
Yeah, I mean, really. All right, so. I'll talk to-
How would you like to proceed? Go ahead and reach out to McCandless and sit down with the contractor and
Yeah.
Please.
I think that-
we'll get your report on.
two police
on it.
departments and the contractors with you.
Okay,
All right,
Reeves, manager discussion item.
nothing.
Okay, reports from council. Who wants to start?
Good evening, I just want to ask,
Yeah.
I noticed October 4th is empty. Can I grab it for many, anybody else? That can give it back?
I thought there was a September date too, you want the September date?
Tell me when.
Yeah,
September is.
September 20th is open. We have personnel handbook on the 6th.
Yeah, September 20th. That's the day that my wife is getting the Bar Association Award. So
So no,
I won't
okay,
be
so
here.
you
at
want
all.
October.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yep.
You day.
Just a moment, the concrete slab, I've reached out, resident has reached out, asking what they do. So I'll convey the suggestions back. I mean, the slab is just sinking. Basically, the premises, people just have to get it online, right? That's it.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I don't know what you're.
Sidewalk.
Yeah, I had a
Sidewalk.
resident, there's like a slab, it's sinking, compared to the next slab. So there's a gap. So I think we have a new ordinance in place to
Yes, we do.
the gap, right?
Yeah.
Is this
It's a
sidewalk?
private sidewalk. yeah.
It's a private sidewalk. So
Okay.
Residents are.
It's greater than 3/4 of an inch.
Sounds like
Uh,
it.
The picture looks that way, so
Yeah.
they're asking what I do.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
I'll let them know. That's it.
There's, Ava.
Okay.
Dr. Lee.
Yeah, I don't have any.
No, nothing additional.
Luke.
Ava, we will definitely miss you.
Okay.
Also, thank you, Lieutenant, for the speed studies. Anything you want to, use my comments, and then you wanted to add or say about it.
Now, if you guys have any questions, we really didn't find that there was a speeding vehicle. It's a large volume, and I understand that's probably more of the problem. If you look on there, the enforcement level, we have to give them 10 over on the speed limits, and there were only 3 cars timed during the 2 weeks that exceeded that. And that could possibly be in a high times a police car responding from the back there, or an ambulance, or anything going to any of those plans. But there were only 3 that, and none were above 40 miles an hour. I spoke to the complainant, Rachel, and she appreciated us taking the time to do the study. And I did recommend, the homeowners association wanted to get one of those digital signs to put up there as a reminder. They could do that, as some plans have, and that we would paint fast car lines there, even though we couldn't really probably do any enforcement there. They serve as a deterrent sometimes, and we'll try to get a car over there and sit there from time to time. And she understood and appreciated it.
Thank you.
Luke, do you want to say something about Ray Moss at as part of the fire company report? Yeah, sure. Okay. I think that's it. We're actually early. Good news. Well, no executive session, right, Matt? You don't have any issues? Nothing new? Good. Okay.